I advise many landlords, especially on discrimination, and we have our newest protected class, which is the source of income, which is relatively undefined here in Rhode Island, which is of course unfortunate, but it is a newer law. It is a newer protected class, and I think it's a really important protected class. So the boring part always that I discuss is the Fair Housing Act, which is the Federal Fair Housing Act, which has its specific set of protected classes, which is gender, country of origin, race, family, all the ones that we've all pretty much come to know. Rhode Island and all states can add to that. They can always raise the floor is what we say and how we say it. And Rhode Island has done just that. Veterans were mentioned earlier, victims of domestic violence, which were mentioned earlier, and now source of income, which is basically any lawful source of income is how it's defined. So what's a lawful source of income? I'm sure we can all guess and giggle at what's an unlawful source of income, but the lawful source of income, which is basically most forms of income that come in. Little side humor. I do have a client that asked me to approve a lease once where they wanted to bar any attorney or anyone who received legal income from residing at their premises. But unfortunately, most of us receive a lawful source of income. But so when someone receives a lawful source of income, what do you do? So the biggest thing we see with realtors and the biggest complaint that my office gets from landlords or from housing providers, from realtors, and I'm going to jump right into this because I hear it probably 3 or 4 times a year, is a realtor went to rent my property. Someone called and said I had a Section 8 voucher, and the realtor immediately said, no, we don't accept Section 8. And that's a huge one that we hear a lot. And Section 8 is obviously a lawful source of income, or else we wouldn't be here today. But it is said enough where I think it's something that needs to be addressed. Because one, not only have you committed discrimination on its face, they could run down to the Human Rights Commission or run down to Superior Court, file an action, and you're going to be out $2,000 or $3,000. And you're going to have to admit that you discriminated against somebody. But you've also now made the owner of the property liable for your discrimination because you're their agent under the law. You're not just a real estate agent, you're their agent under the law. So I think that's something really important to understand when understanding the laws. So while it's not specifically defined, it is lawful source of income, which is going to envelop most incomes that individuals receive. So be very careful. And the other thing is that question that we get a lot is, well, and Mike touched on this, and I think more than touched on this, is, well, what if the Section 8 voucher or whatever the subsidy is doesn't cover the rent? Well, you can't just outright say no, because you can actually petition or request that of Rhode Island Housing, of Providence Housing. Hey, listen, the rent for this unit is $1,800. The standard's only $1,695. Can you go up $100? Or what can we do? Where can we work? And those are questions that all need to be asked before you outright say no. You need to make some sort of accommodation, some sort of request to ensure that, hey, listen, you can actually outright deny this applicant. So that's a big question we get. The other question we get is, well, what if they don't meet my income standards? My income standards for this place is it's, $2,000 a month. They've got to make at least $6,000 a month. Well, there are some states, because about half the states have adopted the source of income. It's probably a little bit more than half the states now. There are some states that define what the income should be at 3 times as what's the voucher holder pay. So if they're paying $200 a month, well, and that's 30% of their income, well, 30 times 3 is only 90%, so they got a 10% window there, right? So they do receive 3 times their income to qualify for your place. You can't just do a blanket, if they have to make $6,000 a month, 6,000 times 12 is $72,000 a year. They have to make $72,000 a year, and that's going to go on the application. That's actually source of income discrimination in many states. So you have to be very careful how you approach it, and you want to approach it with what I say, with some caring, kind, and compassion and understanding of what's going on. And not only that, you're getting the voucher subsidy. So that's a benefit as well. So, to ensure that income's coming in, so long as you're meeting the HQS standards and all of those, that money's coming in. So that's really important to understand.